Hey there, this is Matt from Austin. I love the hot shoe that you guys have there. I shoot with a Mamiya RZ67, and I'm actually building a 4x5. Pretty exciting. Anyways, heard the number, had to call. It's a thing. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Yo! The Film Photography Podcast, the internet radio show for people who love to shoot film. This is episode 81, May 1st. 2013. Hey, this is Michael Rosso. I'm here in the presidential suite at the Finlay Inn and Conference Center in beautiful downtown Finlay, Ohio. And it's awesome. Folks out there listening, the set is reminiscent of the Johnny Carson show.
It's great.
And Ed McMahon is...
right over there.
Lauren. And with me, of course, is Matt Marashi.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And Leslie Lazenby.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
This is going to be a fun show. We've got a lot of topics to discuss. We're going to dive right in. And I think that the most important thing to talk about first, I was unaware, but apparently it's today May 1st is...
May 1st, International Commie Camera Day.
Can you elaborate?
No. It's a flicker.
What do you want, Dalzell? No.
No. He taught me everything I know. When in doubt, just say no. It's a Flickr group, as are many of these camera day extravaganzas, such as Roy 2012, 2013.
Pinhole Day.
Pinhole Day, 420. No, 420 is a little bit more international.
That's a different day, yeah.
Yes, it is. Or like Roll-A-Day, Rad, Roll-A-Day, that type of thing. So another Flickr type of group to keep people shooting and encourage you and inspire you and narrow down the field a little bit and that kind of thing.
I brought one of this monster camera, which Matt's eyebrow went up. He's like, "Oh, I gotta shoot that."
Oh yeah,
it's a Kiev 6C. It's a 120 SLR camera, and I know very little about it except I'm the person who bought it. I can tell you, I bought it on eBay. I don't have the gentleman's name, but he's a very good seller. It seems like there's one or two or three guys that sell directly from Ukraine. Do you know?
I bought one from the Ukraine as well.
Probably
might be the same guy.
Yeah, he was. Customer service was excellent. It came super speedy. The body didn't work. Camera I received was stuck on one shutter speed. So I emailed him like, "Oh man, my camera doesn't work." He sent out another body, lickety split.
Excellent.
So I'm here right now with this beautiful camera, and it is a f2.8 lens, and it is a 90 millimeter f2.8 lens. Yeah, I know nothing about this, so please.
Did you specifically hunt it down because you wanted a Kiev? What prompted you to look for it and buy it?
About 2 years ago, Dan Domi donated one to the show, and we gave it away.
Oh.
And I had tested it. And now that it's gone, I'm like, hey, you know what? That was, I kind of was jonesing for shooting with a 120 SLR.
Yes.
Like, I forgot, of course, how incredibly bulky.
They can be, yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Now, the Kiev, as being the kind of knockoff brand that Kiev was, everything they make is going to be a little bulkier than the rest. If you want something a little smaller, the camera this is modeled after, the Pentacon 6, definitely a little more compact, nowhere near as much
Also
bulk
Kiev?
on the top. No, Pentacon. It's a different. That's like the Japanese cult camera.
It's Pentax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like pre-Pentax, yeah. It's older.
Now, some FPPers that have showed up to various meetups have shown up with one, right?
I haven't seen a Pentacon 6, honestly. I mean, we've seen Pentax 6.7s and stuff. Now, the 6.7, that's the big, bulky. I mean, that makes the Kiev look light. It's even bigger. But no, the Kievs they're really neat cameras. They kind of have like their own. Like you can always tell when it's like a Kiev versus a Hasselblad or something. Like the lens has its own kind of like soft stuff going on.
This looks like it was made in a machine shop.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Like really, like a machine shop, like factory.
Exactly.
It's like it's not smooth. The edges aren't rounded very well. It's kind of blocky.
I remember Dan talking about his Kiev. He said, if you ever want to learn how to repair cameras, buy a Kiev.
Oh.
Because there's always something. With them. So if you get a good one, it's like, wow. Yeah.
And now that Mark Dalzell hipped us to Rick Olson online.
Yes.
You could see all the schematics for cameras, and you could repair them yourself if you dare.
I don't dare.
I don't dare. I just hand them to Mark.
I've been awfully brave doing that lately.
This is going to be another show where Mark Dalzell is not present, but his name is mentioned like 25, 30 times.
There's something wrong with that.
Hearing
something very popular about him.
There is. It's easy to keep him in line that way.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So that's my Kiev 6C. I just received it recently. I'm shooting with it, this month. I'm anxious to see the results. I actually have one shot on Flickr. It's that square, black and white Ilford 3200. What's that called?
Delta?
Ilford Delta 3200 of a lake in New Jersey.
So it is a square frame, so it's 12 up.
I just want everyone to know out there, because I forget to mention a bunch of stuff every show. I forget to mention that we have show notes. So if you're listening to the show, I never plug the show notes.
It's almost like assumed, check out the show
No,
notes.
I think new listeners don't know that you can go to filmphotographyproject.com, click podcast, and you will see all the podcasts. And if you click a particular podcast, you'll get a whole bunch of show notes. These days, written by our good friend Alex Laux.
He does a heck of a job with those show notes.
Yeah.
They are like 2-3 blog posts worth of stuff. Because we do talk about a lot, and there's good quality, of information, and he just kind of puts it together.
And just like FP3000B, he's super speedy. We also are on Facebook. If you're one of these Facebook people,
those people,
yeah. If you're one of these Facebook people, you can go to Film Photography Podcast, like us. You can also find us on Flickr.com. If you're not on Flickr.com, the long-standing FPP, Film Photography Podcast group on Flickr, it's loads of fun and has a very active thread.
Very, very active.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's places to find us. I think a nice segue would be to just break things up a little bit and read a letter.
Mail's in.
Hey, that sounds good, Mike.
Excellent.
Yeah, what do you got, Matt?
We have a listener letter from Mark Hargis.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, guys. First, I recently discovered your great podcast, and after listening to your first 3 episodes from the very beginning of the show, my only question is, why didn't I find this podcast sooner? It's now the only podcast on my phone. Yes, you guys are the best.
Nice.
Personally, I'm an avid film photographer. I recently finished up a degree in photography at college, and 2 years ago, halfway through my degree, sold all my digital gear. At the time, I thought I was crazy, and looking back, I couldn't have made a better decision. Admittedly, my beginning work on film is nothing short of failure, but now I feel I've made some great strides. I shoot a Wiesner 4x5 right now, as well as a Canon 35. Well, it's like
Mikey Jr.
The best of Mike Rosso right here. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm an avid follower of the new topographics movement, and I'm hoping to get some information from you guys in regard to the current photographers, old or new, that are deeply involved with the movement. Does anybody know about that?
I don't know anything about it. You have to tell us. What is a
new topographics?
I don't believe I do.
I'm pretty sure that's like now, I'm probably super wrong about this, but I believe the new topographics movement are people that are covering the kind of like the evolving not American landscape, but just the 21st century landscape. So not the traditional black and white Ansel Adams kind of thing, but the color inclusion of all of these man-made elements kind of taking over what was the traditional landscape. So when someone is documenting like industry and the effects of that amidst the landscape, that kind of look. I believe
Is it a group or a club?
No, it's
loose.
Not loose. It's just kind of
What was it called?
Yeah, it's like its own photographic. He said
Genre.
movement, but
Like
genre.
Urbex.
Yes, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like Urbex has evolved from New Topographics. New Topographics is like a new name placed on something that people have been doing for 50, 60 years now. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, and at last, I'm wanting to dump my 35mm gear and move into medium format Fuji in the 6x9 format.
Ooh.
I shot one during my college time, and I fell in love with the image size. The ratio is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Any tips or advice on the camera? Best place to purchase? Or is a camera that's better? Well, 6x9, there's not a lot of choices. You can get an older school folder, or the Fuji 6x9, which is also known as the Texas Leica. They're huge.
Bel-Air.
They're huge. Or the Bel-Air.
Is it medium format cameras that take 120 film?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's 6x9, so it's 8 shots.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yes.
very few. Or is it 6?
No,
8.
it's not
It's
6.
8. Yeah, it's 8 shots. Yeah. I would say the Texas Leica is the way to go. Those images are sharp.
Yeah.
And they
A nice big neg.
A nice big
Yes.
neg. It has its own unique look, and honestly, contact prints from it look really cool too. So, best place to get one, KEH.
I was going to say KH.
I was thinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody should be KEH. So, well, wow, that was a nice long letter, but thanks, Mark. And we'll have some we'll have Alex do some research on the new topographics movement.
Hey, Alex. Yeah. Thank you.
No, but I do have some good examples. I can't remember the photographers' names, but there's a lot of it. I kind of like to think of it as the 21st century landscape, because that's kind of what it really is. Wow, Wiesner 4x5 and Canon 35. Mike, you need a Texas Leica.
Yeah, Texas Leica. Hey, before we read another letter, I just want to... Well, first of all, I want to mention that we talked about my Kiev 6C. I don't know if I mentioned, it takes 120 roll film, medium format, 12 shots per roll, square. In my hand, folks, is the Courier from Thursday, April 11th, 2013, back when we did the FPP walking workshop. I can't tell you how nice it is to hold in my hand a newspaper, and is like, I swear, almost a full-page article.
I know.
Called Finlay in a Flash, Film Enthusiasts to Converge for Weekend Workshop, and is a beautiful shot photographed by Randy Roberts of Leslie and Matt. Is that in the Mecca?
Yes, it is in the Mecca.
It was, when you saw that, pretty cool, right? I mean, you felt like, oh my God. You must have been the talk of the Baker's Cafe.
Someone did want my autograph today, but they didn't have 50 cents on them.
People stopping you both of you, were people stopping you on the street?
People were looking at me at Myers today funny.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that was it or not. Or
That
if
could be it. The guy at the carry out, I always go and get snacks for work. Mm-hmm. He I went to buy the paper, and then he thought about it. He's like, you! So, no, it was good.
That's excellent. Yeah, like a full page about our workshop. It's pretty amazing. Perhaps we can get a scan.
Oh, definitely.
For the show notes and for Flickr.
Oh, sure. I brought you a newspaper to take home with you.
Oh, that's nice.
So, 50 cents, I'll autograph it.
So,
yes.
FPP, well-known, Brandon Nedwick brought up on Twitter that, in no less, it was in the family section to help people further disbelieve that Leslie and I are mother and son.
God,
yeah.
So.
Okay.
And I thought about that later. We should have just given Randy Roberts a fake last name for both of us that was
just use the same fake last name.
Them nuts,
yeah, exactly.
Because they think that anyway.
Some more fun stuff before we move on to a topic. I love giving things away, and we give many things away here on the FPP. But today, I have a little story. It's not a very good story, but it's a quick story, and it involves Mark Dalzell. About 2-3 months ago, maybe longer, Leslie, you came to this FPP studio in New Jersey with your Canon FTB, and it had what I would call like the stock B&H type lens, like you'd buy a camera package and they give you like a Tamron.
Well, that wouldn't have been a stock lens. I had a Tamron 2870 Adaptol.
It wasn't wowing anybody.
Oh, heck no.
No, it was like f3.5.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I was boasting about my favorite lens. My favorite lens is a Canon FD lens, and it is a 50 millimeter 1.4 S period C period, and the SSC is in red, and I think it has to do with the way it's coated, and it is my favorite lens in the entire world. My favorite lens, and I have this lens for you right here.
No way.
Yes.
I was going to say something about Sherlock and with something in front of it.
Now, you would have had it.
Sweet.
You would have had it months ago. Now, if you it has one of those spiff filters on it. If you take that off, you can see that the glass has never touched air. You can see it's like beautiful. Oh. However...
is this gorgeous?
Yeah, it's a great lens. But I was testing it, and all of a sudden, it stopped working.
Oh, then this doesn't mean it has to go into the dead Canon camera box.
No.
Mecca.
I gave it to Mark Dalzell, who consulted the Rick Olson manual. He took the whole damn thing apart.
Oh, no way.
Like, did this stuff, like, you know, it's fixed, completely fixed.
This is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great lens, and I can't wait to see that on the FTB.
It's at the Mecca right now, just waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
You're
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
Mark, too, for making it operational.
Yeah, I thank Mark, too, because those, you know.
So when's Mark taking the FPP repair shop full time?
Exactly. I wonder what kind of emails he gets.
I bet he gets them all.
Yeah.
He's like, damn that Mike Rosso.
Yeah. Well, he
plug
gets
in
all
my
the
name.
technical stuff, which is I'm more than happy because I'm get out there and shoot, but I'm not get out there and take a lens apart.
Oh no, that's beyond. That's like mechanical too.
Leslie's
like
just gonna leave.
I'm out of here.
She's
Gotta
got
go.
her take.
Gotta
She's
go.
good.
Got a lens.
I've shot so many Canon FD lenses, and that I can't even explain why. It just is my favorite. I think it's I just love it.
Well, it's always possible amongst a Canon lens.
Yeah.
Canon does not make all of their own lenses.
Oh.
No manufacturer does. Especially on the exotics, it's too much for them to tool up, so they farm it out.
You know what?
So,
Also, you could really, you know how some you could really like focus up nice and close.
yes.
That one. That's the one. You know, you get a lens 50 millimeter, and like you're like, oh, F.
Yeah, you need to get close.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. But this was probably a Canon-made lens.
Yeah.
Always stayed a Canon-made lens, and so it's not uncommon for you to say, well, I like the 50, but, their 85 doesn't thrill me,
Yeah.
type of thing, so.
The standard 1.8s, they're beautiful too. But
Sure.
this one's like a little extra.
I know.
Yeah.
I, up until just recently, never owned a 1.4 lens.
Yeah.
It's funny you mention
Almost
that.
bizarre that both of them were given to me.
You were mentioning Canon makes a couple that the other manufacturers don't. I think the 55 is one of those, like the Canon only. Like they have a 55 millimeter focal length.
Actually,
which
what
is
I
harder.
meant was Canon does not make all their own lenses.
Oh, they firm
would-
out their glass. Okay.
Well, yeah, they'll do a specs out, and you can go over to the Tamron factory in Japan, and you'll see Canon lenses or Sony broadcast lens rolling off the line.
What's the SSC on this one?
I think it has to do with the way it's coded.
Super coated.
Because there's SC, just SC, and then there's SCC. I
don't know. I'm sure it has something to do with it. Yeah.
Canon code.
Super sweet coating.
Sweet Canon coding. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Let's get right into the big news of the day for May 1st, because something is expiring soon. And that something that's expiring is called Kickstarter. Well, first of all, I'd like to mention, I think you guys will agree, FPP was started in 2009. There's no comparison. Here we are, 2013. Like, there's such a buzz about film that wasn't in 2009. Like, everything seemed to be winding down in 2009. Everything was a bummer.
Yeah.
Everything was like, no more 110 film back then. No more Polaroid film. And I'm amazed now how exciting things are. And how, in a situation like this, we're going to talk about what's called the travel wide, how like two guys get together and like they're just start a little mini revolution by coming out with something that's so cool and doing a Kickstarter that is so successful so quickly. Take it away, Matt.
Hey, well, one of these guys has actually been a contact of mine for as long as I've been on Flickr. So the two guys you're mentioning, Ben Syverson and Justin Lundquist, they own a little camera company called Wanderlust Cameras. They started out by making little pinhole cameras or little pinhole adapters for your digital cameras, like your point and shoots. They also have digital SLR pinhole adapters. But I've known Ben. He's always been a 4x5, 8x10 shooter. He's been a huge fan forever of Peter Gowland cameras, so kooky little different cameras, and he owns quite a selection of them. They're coming out with this camera called the Travel Wide 4x5. Now imagine this, Mike, a point-and-shoot 4x5 camera with a wide angle and a super wide angle. Mm-hmm. The camera weighs less than your Canon digital SLR, weighs less than a Mamiya 7, weighs way less than your Kiev 6C, weighs just over 500 grams. So we're just over a pound. I mean,
It's plastic.
yeah, it's plastic. It's a plastic cone camera. On the front of it, it has what's called a helical mount focus. So just a little bit of rotation on this on your lens, and you can actually focus it and get a pretty appreciable depth of field. The camera will take a fixed 90 millimeter lens, which is an older Schneider. I'm not sure if it's an Angulon or Super Angulon. It's the older 96.8. Mm-hmm. They sold out of those right away. I know you said you wanted to get in on that before. But
I tried to get in, and
they
then
sold
it was
out
gone.
near instantly. Yeah. There's the 90 millimeter, but there's also a super wide, which is a 65 millimeter Super Angulon f8 that focuses. The shots on the Kickstarter page look awesome. I encourage everybody to go over there and look at it. At the time of recording, they're almost there. I'm certain that by the time you're listening to this, the Kickstarter has been met, if not exceeded.
But you have like a day to still go there.
Yes, yeah. It expires Thursday, May 2nd at 11:59 a.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. But still kick these guys some money because $99 gets you the regular camera. $189 gets you 2 cameras, one each, the 90mm and the 65mm. That's without the lens, but they give you links to go to different places to look for the lenses. One of them is KEH that they give you. The other one is Large Format Photography Forum. Both places that we've talked about here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Places that I've used forever. Just great resources. Another thing, if they make their goal, which I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be made, they're including free one of their own Wanderlust cameras pinhole adapters for each of the cones. So if you want to do a little bit different kind of look, not so sharp, slap a pinhole right on it, and they're very well made.
Tell me about the focus. Like, is it? You mentioned you rotate it and you focus. Will there be notches so like headshot, 2-shot, mountains, like?
No, that's a good question.
Like, how do you gauge your focus?
I know in one of the they have a video on there. It looks like the test model that Ben had that he was moving around with had like some notches on it, but I don't think the model is going to come with that. You can buy little rangefinders to kind of gauge your area of focus, not necessarily what's going to be in focus. But with these wider angle lenses, I think you're not going to be getting too terribly close.
Right.
But
would you say it's primarily for like landscape photography?
Definitely like definitely travel, because it's going to be landscape only unless you rotate the camera vertically.
Right.
Like that. I've heard some kind of skeptical concerns about the camera from different folks. A lot of large format shooters are either very for it or very against it. I'm for anything that gets people shooting 4x5 film. The way they kind of paint it to a would-be shooter is look at the resolution you can get. Look at this gorgeous image. You couldn't get this without doing HDR or something in digital. So why don't you just shoot it with the film? So it gets more people shooting film. I'm all for it.
Yeah, there's some Debbie Downers out there.
Oh yeah, people are like, well,
well, of course the camera's light because you have to carry 1 million holders on you to make it worth being a point and shoot. So
people are still going to do it.
It's a backpack.
I'm gonna carry my CNR no matter what if I want the picture. So yeah,
when you start shooting like bigger negatives, even like medium format and up, it makes a world of difference. When you're like scanning, you have this big neg. It's awesome. You can't describe it.
You can't until
it
you
makes
see
35 millimeters seem like 110.
But it also makes your attitude different too.
Yes.
You think about your photography.
You sure
exactly.
do. You plan it, you set it up.
And this is kind of just that starting point. And honestly, to all the Debbie Downers, I say $90. That's all this thing costs. There was a camera company over in China making the same kind of cone style 4x5, and Ilford makes theirs. The Chinese company, before prior to a couple years ago, they're selling theirs for over $1,200.
Right.
And this is better made. It's made in the USA with 3D printing technology. These guys are they're real people. We know these people. I can definitely get behind these guys.
They're in there shooting.
In the trenches, working, getting these things working.
Get a lot more people buying sheet film.
Yes.
Into 4x5 film. A lot of folks, as you know, so many people are jumping into large format photography, and this makes it easy. This is the
gateway drug.
This is the gateway drug.
It is
the travel wide.
Now, I do have nefarious reasons for wanting this to succeed, because I talked to Ben on Twitter and I said, "When's the 8x10 coming out?" I said, "As soon as the 4x5 is successful."
Oh, no.
Because he's an 810 shooter.
Oh, okay.
That's how I know him, and so I know if he's as big a Peter Gallon fan as I know he is, an 8x10 will not be far behind, and I will be very much for that.
For folks out there who don't know, I highly suggest you research Peter Gallon. You'll get his website, which I believe is run by his wife, because Peter has passed. Mm-hmm. And he's primarily known as a pinup photographer, but was he shooting landscapes? Did he shoot landscapes?
It was either early on or later, but there's like a smattering of it, yeah.
Or was this the type of camera that Peter Gallon, he would design cameras?
He was more he was a tinkerer.
He'd go into the desert with a pinup model and like shoot a wide shot of a pinup model on the rocks.
It was like location, yeah.
Circa 1956.
I love the design of his cameras, and I know Ben, whenever an auction comes up, he's either the first one to talk about it, or if I like tweet it, he's like, damn it, I'm going to have to bid on this.
How can folks listening get to this Kickstarter page?
They can, if you Google Travel Wide 4x5, it's the first thing that comes up.
Oh, nice. Okay.
If you search Kickstarter for recently successful or top photography projects, it'll be right there. I will have a link in the show notes.
Yes.
That'll get you there. And yeah, you can also find them on the Flickr. Wanderlust Cameras, their company. You can also, if you want to see their individual photo streams, I know Ben's is Ben Syverson.
Ben.
But he's a really cool guy, and he's kind of like, I always look up to him as a role model because he's a couple years older than me, and he's kind of like like done everything 4 or 5 years before I even get into it, and it's cool to me. So
Right.
it's really nice to just kind of see that, like, oh, it's still relevant, everything he's doing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty exciting. A few weeks ago, I saw on Facebook, the Facebook, Keith Canham, he did a post mentioning about how oddly cut Kodak film actually ships in a real Kodak box. Did you see that picture?
Yes, I did.
So if you're shooting large format, people think 4x5, 8x10, but there are odder formats.
Tons.
Like this, Leslie, there's 5x7.
My Linhof 5x7.
Do you have the specialty order on a Keith Canham Kodak run?
No, I have a dealership that allows me to get Ilford.
Is 5x7 a custom cut for? Does Fuji do 5x7?
Yes, they do.
They
You
do.
can get it on not directly from the big camera dealers, but Japan Exposures. You can get 5x7.
Oh,
I was just
very
looking the
nice.
other day.
I've ordered from them. They're super speedy.
The odd sizes we're talking about, and for each one of these, I know a guy that shoots it 6x7 inches, 5x11, 6x11, 6x12, 8x11.
Are you up on the batches that Keith Canham was talking about?
Oh, he's really good about that. He's always I always share stuff that he'll be into on Facebook, and I can usually find him a guy or two, that are looking for that film, and it's really hard because he's up on the social networking, but the people that I think are half the people that are consuming the film, and that's the disconnect.
Yeah.
But he's doing a good job getting people together, and there's all sorts of kooky sizes, but more power to you. I mean, that's the only warning I have to anybody. Like, don't buy a whole plate camera.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be cheap, and there's a reason it's going to be cheap. Because the film is going to be hard to do unless you cut it yourself.
Right.
From X-ray film.
So, listeners, Keith Canham cameras. That's Canham, ham. Canham cameras. You could buy a large format camera from Keith. They're beautiful.
Oh, man.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
And you could special order film.
Yes.
So
and it's one of those, most of the time you don't have to pay until the majority has been met. If you order through your local camera store that gets together with Keith Canham, you pay up front, and then they send you a check if they don't meet the number. But usually, if it's 8x10, 5x7, 4x5, they almost always meet it. So
right.
Got a little large formatty there.
I did.
I like it.
Well, speaking of large format, I would like to say you may have noticed, Matt, that the Film Photography Project, the store, filmphotographystore.com, has really stepped up.
I want to say we are some of the cheapest 4x5 film on the web.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden, it's like, bink, 4x5 format. Bink, 8x10 for the X-ray film. Bink. And recently, we started stocking Ilford film. Bink. Or Ortho Plus. I have to tell everyone that, been doing the show for years now, and it's still super fresh. And I don't mean the film. I mean, I'm still always amazed how there's something exciting to talk
always
about.
something new. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I've never shot this before. Ortho Plus, a film that you could load, unload, look at, hold, sniff, lick in with a 7-watt red bulb. You can see what you're doing.
Yes. That's the best part.
It's a real joy to work you can even the X-ray film, which we're going to talk about. Same thing. You could load it, unload it, whatever you want to do. You can eat lunch on it with a little 7-watt bulb. You can see what you're doing. You can cut it up. You can make strips out of it.
That's right.
Yeah, all I need, Leslie, is some kind of grinder that puts sprockets on film.
No, we'll get. Oh, that would be nice.
Is there such a thing?
I don't know, or you could just get a big old stamp thing in the shape of it, mill it out,
and start making our own 110, 126. Imagine that 126 X-ray film.
My God, what have I done?
But I haven't shot with this yet. But
you're gonna like
Matt,
it.
you've been talking about this stuff for a long time.
Yes.
There's nothing like, when you hear it on the show and then, you actually pick it up and start shooting with it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
You've been talking about X-ray film.
I feel like
for a long time.
Yeah, I've felt like the guy shouting in the corner about it for a year and a half now. Yeah, okay. You have fun. Yeah.
But when you get your hands on it, it's like, oh my God.
and it has such a nice, different look for humans.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It looks into eyes.
Yes.
You know what I mean by that?
Oh, yes.
It looks into eyes, the skin. Amazing. It's amazing.
So specifically, Matt, maybe you can help me out with this.
Sure.
The green X-ray film, which you shot a heck of a lot of.
Oh, tons. Yeah.
The blue X-ray film, which I started shooting only because I saw what the green looks like. I wasn't sure what the blue was, so I started shooting it. And then I was recently introduced to this Ilford Ortho Plus.
Yeah.
What is it really kind of the difference between just the
those
medical
three?
X-ray film and the Ortho Plus?
Your main difference is the Ilford Ortho is going to have a lot more sensitivity to the different color spectra than the
is that right?
Than the blue green X-ray film. The blue green is very specific. Like if you look at the data, the curves just like spike at blue and green, and the Ilford's is just a nice smooth upswing until you hit a certain color, and it might see a little more of the orange and stuff, whereas the X-ray film just won't see it at all. It's just not not sensitized for it. Also, another thing you'll definitely like, it's very, very hard to scratch that ortho film the same way. Gorilla mitts.
No more pine needle storms.
Yeah.
Well, you brought it to a whole nother
it looks like
level.
A cat got to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
It looks great
in the
though.
litter box.
But it looks great. It looked great. It's a lot harder to scratch, and there's an anti-halation layer on that stuff, so it's not as dreamy in the highlights on the ortho. But it's still going to give you a bit of that different look, but kind of in between. So if X-ray film's like too much, it's like a step down.
Isn't it awesome when like there's a film designed for a very technical reason, and then creatives take it and do something else with it? For example, the specs online for Ilford Ortho Plus seem very like copy work.
Yeah, like ortholitho
Sure.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes, I was just going to say, I used to like to treat litho film.
Yeah.
Codalith.
Yeah.
In particular.
So this
use it for real world.
This isn't actually designed to like, shoot portraits with.
But you could.
Like whoever designed this wouldn't think to use
That was not
this.
its first primary use.
It's just kooky.
Yeah.
It really is. Like when I'm processing the X-ray film, like because you look at it and it's a harder film, and like I'm there, I use Caffeinol, so I'm like 30 minutes there.
Really? 30 minutes? Wow.
30 minutes
It usually
Caffeinol.
comes up quick.
Oh, no, it comes up slow.
Wow.
I can't even believe there's an image, and when you're looking at it in the red light, sometimes you can't see it.
Yeah, you got to kind of hold it at an angle.
It's really unbelievable that a medical film is being shot creatively to do portraits. It's kooky. But then when you get the results,
they're great. Yeah.
It really is amazing.
At the cost of less than a frame of 35 mil. That's the big that's the big keeper.
So what you going to soup the ortho in? Caffeinol?
No.
You know what? I would love to get some Codalith AB developed.
Ooh, that'd be harsh.
Ooh.
Yeah, you guys are still in a different world. Like I'm
high contrast developer.
I know very little about
that stuff would come up in 3 minutes.
So what she's talking about is inherent difference between all three of those films and a normal panchromatic film.
Right.
Is a panchromatic film is typically low contrast, trying to get like everything in the scene in there. These films are inherently high contrast. So when you hit it with a normal developer, it's still going to look pretty contrasty. If you hit it with a more dilute developer, say Caffeinol, it's going to flatten it out a little bit. It's going to give it a nice look. Leslie's suggesting throw caution to the wind and use a super active high contrast developer with
like
a high
steroids developer.
Use high contrast film, high contrast developer, and you'll get her favorite super high contrast images.
Maybe you could develop it in espresso instead of just regular cheap coffee.
I haven't
Go
thought
for the
about
good
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
You'll be buzzed. You'll
Pick
get
her up.
contact high just processing.
So I'm pretty excited about shooting this.
Espressanol.
And I ordered some really crazy sizes, and as of the taping, it's not available yet, but I am determined to roll 120 film in the X-ray film.
Ooh.
And make it
Lovely.
available to FP
Yep,
peers.
wonderful.
I'm a little concerned. I did a test roll, like taping 3 strips together.
Yes.
It rolled up really nice. If it's a continuous strip, it will roll up even better. But my concern is there any danger involved with the film being too thick for, let's say, a Mamiya 645 film holder?
Oh.
Good point. Are you going to put backing paper on it?
Yes.
Then you might run into it because
You think it's too...
it shouldn't
Well, I
be.
don't
It's
know
not that
because
much thicker.
they're used to the 220s. 645
It's a worthy
220.
experiment.
Oh, I'd definitely
Yeah.
try it. Yeah.
Matt, do you have any idea where this idea originated? Like, who was the first creative to take a medical product, piece
don't-
of film, and actually try? Like, where did this start?
A lot of it started with some contacts of mine on the large format photography forum. I don't know if they were the first ones to do it, but the two main contacts, also carbon printers, because they were all looking for ways to get super contrasty negatives that printed well for alternative process. Alternative process uses UV light, and it needs a really thick neg.
Okay.
Negs that print on Silverwell sometimes just don't print on alternative process, so they wanted something that produced a nice negative for that, and X-ray film seemed to do it, and a lot of them were just using it to like duplicate stuff. And then a couple of them said, well, let's cut out the middleman and load it in our camera. One of those was Andrew O'Neill. He's up in Canada, and then another gentleman was Jim Fitzgerald. He's out in sunny California, and they started talking about, wow, I'm just getting great results. So they started posting about it, and then they started posting these amazing photos that people were like, this is X-ray film can't do that. And then everybody else started trying it, and I think I caught on about a year after they did, and here we are a year and a half later, and it's like, yeah. X-ray film.
Do serious photographers take joy in or get upset by something as secret as that goes a little pop culture?
I think these guys they're pretty cool. Like, they're just happy to see that other people are picking up on it, and then that what they were doing was like relevant. So it's really cool to them. I haven't met anybody now that's like, oh darn, this is
the secret's out.
The secret's out. I mean, because it's not like we're not talking something with a finite supply. It's medical imaging.
Exactly.
Most of the world still uses analog X-ray imaging. Only a lot of places. There's places in the U.S. and a couple places internationally that are starting to adopt digital. Millions of X-ray film processing centers are still consuming this stuff regularly.
Right.
And that drives the prices of X-ray film down significantly more than consumer-grade photographic film. And it's the same emulsions made by the same companies. So, I mean, there's Fuji, there's Agfa, there's Kodak, and yeah, no reason not to shoot it. It's really good stuff.
What is your take on the whole thing, Leslie?
I need to shoot some. I was just going to ask Matt, though, because I haven't shot it yet. What's the speed?
The speed varies, and it kind of varies with the sensitivity. The blue sensitive is typically a lot lower speed, just because it's only sensitive to blue light.
Throw a number at me.
25 to 50, typically.
Yeah, I've been shooting at 25.
Now,
the blue.
There's half speed blue and full speed blue, too.
Full speed blue.
That's right, there is.
The half speed is obviously half of whatever the full speed is.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Is there any significance to having color temperature meter?
I think you'd be better off, honestly, with a spectrophotometer, because that would give you it'd give you the actual spectrum, like the wavelength.
Right.
Because the wavelength is the real deal. Now we're getting way too techy. But it does make a difference, because if you have a very hot light source, a very red light source, you're not going to get any image, just because it's red light, it's orange light. We can't use that. We have to use ultraviolet, blue, and green. If it's blue, ultraviolet, and blue. That's it.
So, technically speaking, you could use a fluorescent light as a source?
Yeah, I always add a stop.
Oh, you add a stop, okay.
Just for good measure. Whenever I'm inside, I always add a stop to it, and it seems to do good. It also has reciprocity problems, so it's kind of like Tri-X. I treat it like Tri-X.
Right.
I think you're supposed to treat it like somewhere between Ilford and Tri-X. So there's that's the other cool thing about a small group. We're all discovering how it works.
Right.
So the guys that have been doing it longer are, they've been wasting more of the film, but they're learning at the same rate that people who just picked it up are learning, because there's all this information documented in it. So, but if you Google X-ray film, the first things that come up: large format photography info or .info, the forum, and my blog posts on it.
The Google.
So it's like that's how little it is out there.
I got an email from when I scratched the hell out of my test film. Sean Hoke sent me an email. He hit me to the fact that it's emulsion on both sides. There's no shiny side of bleaching. The one side off, because
that was at the bottom of the tray. Yeah,
the majority of my scratches, because I pan developed 4x5 X-ray film with the emulsion I shot, emulsion up. So the side I did not shoot was getting scratched to sheets in the tray.
Oh yeah.
So I took him up on that suggestion, and I bleached one side off, and it did amazingly reduce the amount of scratches.
Yeah, and if you're used to bleaching Fuji negatives,
same
it's the same thing.
I just do it in my hand these days. I wear a glove.
Oh, okay.
And then I took what is a brush that's designed for a barbecue.
Yes, basting.
I just brush on the thick bleach gel, and then it just melts right away.
It's very quick. Yeah.
Yeah, I suggest wearing gloves because you don't want your flesh to melt away.
Very good. Now, you know what I do, Mike?
What's that?
Completely different. I use, and this is coming from those two guys, Andrew O'Neill and Jim Fitzgerald. I trust those guys with my life when it comes to film, because they've been doing it way longer than I've been alive. Hangers and tanks. Easiest stuff ever.
Yes.
That's what it's called? Hangers and tanks?
They're stainless steel hangers and developing tanks. So the hangers, basically, it's just like a wire frame, and it looks like a coat hanger, but it fits a 8x10 piece of film. It's got a little hinge. You open it up. And what's really nice is the hanger exposes, it's only holding the outside of the film. Okay. So it lets both sides of the emulsion get developed. So I handle my stuff pretty gingerly. Lauren's seen me in the darkroom, just very, very dainty.
Right.
Stick it in and
Is
out.
it like dunking, basically?
Yeah. It's like a dip and dunk tank. So you kind of hold all your hangers. I do 6 at a time.
The hangers go on top, or they slide it on the side?
Nope. They slide in through the top, and they close. and then you dunk them in the tank, and then to agitate, you pull them out, and you dip halfway to drain, and then you put it back in. Then the next minute, you drain it the other way, and you just go about your business.
Do you have to produce an amazing amount of more developer to fill the tank?
Well, that's why I use my one-shot pyro.
One-shot pyro?
My pyro cat, yeah. We...
Is it a one-shot hanger?
No, I do 6.
Oh, okay.
I do 6 at a time.
Okay.
But that's a gallon a developer.
Yes. So you'd want something like Rodinol or HC10
or Caffeinol or something,
Yes.
Yeah. How many ounces, let's say, would you need to fill up a hanger and tank?
3.8 liters, so it's a gallon, so 64 ounces.
It's like flip up.
And then they also modify. See, I use 5x7 hangers, but it fits in the 8x10 tank.
She can fit 2. Yeah.
Do different developers, like the different developers, need, like some developers don't have to agitate? Like, do you need to agitate film in developer or not really?
Well, it depends on how you want it to look too. You've seen my X-ray film. When I started, it was very contrasty. As I got more control over it, basically what I was finding was if I agitate the film less and I do what's called semi-stand or stand developing, which is kind of like laissez-faire, very hands-off on the
like go get a
film.
croissant.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can get out of that. Well, that's hard, though, if you're doing tank.
Oh, that's right.
Because you may be open.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
But I just kind of leave it semi-stand for about 15 to 30 minutes. It's usually somewhere in there. But the cool thing is, you can develop by inspection. So you can look at the creamy negative image that's coming up and say, oh, this one's got 5 more minutes on it. And
look at that.
Pull it out, put it in the water. Or if it's coming up too fast, I put it in the cold water. Just kind of stop it.
Yeah,
And so all my negatives are coming up pretty even, and I can control it. This is kind of that crux of X-ray film that no one tells you about. It's it's a lot more work. You're trading money for time. You really are.
Anything to add about?
Well, I was thinking not necessarily X-ray film on the hanger system.
Have you used the hanger and tankers?
Probably
I don't have the
time ago.
tank yet. I have the hangers for the 5x7.
They're getting pricey.
But,
Really?
But I haven't done X-ray yet, so it's traditional Ilford, and it's a little tougher. I can do it in the tray.
Is it grab what you can, or are these still being manufactured?
Hangers and tanks?
Yeah.
They haven't been made since the 60s.
Tank's not a problem. You can go to your local
you can get hard rubber
Shotland
tanks.
Plastics and have them whip you up a tank.
Okay.
Yeah, the hard rubber
Hangers.
tanks are cheap hangers.
Conceivably, if you're handy, is there something that you can make yourself by going to Walmart or Best Buy or like Target? Or
I would say for the even more resourceful, and this is usually for large format, ultra large format, if you're shooting 5x7 or larger in the X-ray film, get the actual medical X-ray hangers.
Oh.
They're even better. They look like little gator clips on
Yeah.
the hanger. You just clip, and it dings up the corner. Not dings it, but it pulls off a little bit of emulsion. But it does the same thing. And the medical X-ray ones, they're like $5. Whereas the Kodak hangers are like $50.
Right,
But that would save your negs from having cat scratch fever, then, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Cat
This is my
scratch
kind of podcast.
Yes, it is.
We're getting all these topics.
I'm getting a little worried because A, I haven't mentioned Polaroid, barely. B, for all the folks out there that are shooting 35 millimeter, they're like, what show?
We'll be back with that.
Yeah,
hold on.
Like, tab this podcast because, if you're really into film photography, you'll make your way to shooting something large format. Even if you don't buy the camera yourself, you can go to a workshop. You could I don't know. Oh, get the travel wide.
Get the travel.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean there's going to be ways I think to shoot the larger format stuff moving forward when you have guys like the 2 guys in Chicago. What are their names?
Ben Syverson and Justin Lundquist.
Yes, who are like whipping stuff up in their 3D printer.
Yes.
So hang in there. Matt, do you have a letter about hangers and tanks?
Yeah, I really do. This is crazy. So this is from Jeffrey Marr, and he, as well as telling us some great things about converting a 120 roll film to 127, and we'll have a tutorial up on that on the FPP site. But another part of his email asks, hey, could Matt go into any experience he's had with Yankee or any other such development tanks for 4x5?
Yankee?
Leslie's got
Knifecore
something.
made one too. I'd just love to get my hands on. Have you seen that?
Those are rare.
Those are rare, and they just
Yeah.
spiral in. I don't know how many, maybe half a dozen.
Jobo made their tanks based off of those. So Yankee tanks are, I would say, the bottom of the barrel developing tanks. Like I don't recommend any, but unless I don't like them. Like don't develop your film in Yankee. There's always something wrong with them. They're leaky.
Right.
Well, not to bash them, but they were considered a low-end darkroom product. Their whole product line was very budget.
Yeah.
But does it work? Is it light leaks? Like, why wouldn't you buy it?
Light leaks.
Okay.
Yeah, and just the construction, it doesn't hold a lot, and if you're going to go with any hangers and tanks, I always suggest the old Kodak stainless steel and the hard rubber tanks. They're great. They eat chemistry because, like, we're talking a minimum of 1 gallon, maximum of 6 gallons of chemistry. You're using it takes a lot. But I love hangers and tanks because you can do stand and semi-stand development for them. So you can let it sit there and get a nice, get a very contrasty shot, bring the contrast down, just a really nice printable range, get a very nice negative for scanning. Tanks are great. Jobo makes tanks.
Jobo!
Those are obviously going to be continuous agitation, which is a little bit different. There's also a great tank that's made brand new and sold on the eBay. It's called Mod 45 or Mod 54 because they're in the UK.
Okay.
And
I heard of Mod 54.
yeah, and I guess May 1st, Mod 54 is coming out with a brand new tank. They had a teaser on the Facebook for it. So there's a lot of great tanks, just not the Yankee.
Yankee?
You can even use
can tube
Patterson
develop,
tanks.
too.
Yeah.
You can tube develop.
Tube develop. Those are they call them BTZS tubes now.
Well, those are tubes, but you can also get the old Chromes.
Yep. Old
You
Bessler
can get the
drums.
Besslers. The Besslers are nice
Yep.
because they take half the amount of chemistry.
Yes, they do. They take very little chemistry.
1.5 ounces per 8 by 10 inch coverage area.
Yeah. And you can also do the taco method with
That's my favorite.
with Patterson tanks. You get the
Oh.
Do
triple
you use
stack.
the mild or the hot sauce with that?
Hot all the way. I don't recommend the taco method. I've seen too much like variability. Just get a dedicated tank. Like
The Doritos nacho cheese taco is taking the country by storm, by the way.
okay, so I saw the funniest article about this. I sent it to Lauren. The name of the article was Food World collapses in on itself as Doritos announces the Doritos Locos Taco flavored Doritos. Think about that.
Oh my God!
Whoa.
It's like thinking about Planet of the Apes of how the time space works.
It's folding in on
continuum
itself.
thing.
Yeah, my head
They-
blew up. Yeah,
If they release that,
they are.
a black hole will open up and the Earth will just disappear into
Possible,
it.
just a giant sinkhole.
Matt, that is the most insane thing I have ever heard in my
Can
life.
you say that one more time?
Doritos Locos flavored Doritos. Doritos Locos Tacos flavored Doritos. I know, it hurts. But they've got to be so good.
It doesn't make any sense. I guess they add a beef flavor in. It has to be, right? Because the only thing...
I don't know. It's insane.
Sounds crazy.
It's like
Can't they leave good thing alone?
No.
Then the flip side of that would be...
Doritos suction.
Yeah.
Then there'll be a Los... What is it called?
Doritos?
A Los Doritos taco flavored Doritos chip flavored taco. Like they'll
Yeah.
do it again.
It'd be like Doritos Locos Taco squared.
I think I'm getting a headache.
I'm getting hungry.
But I saw a little blurb on that in like a business report. It's
Yeah.
hugely successful.
Oh yeah, huge. So yeah, 4x5 tanks definitely.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Taco method.
Taco. I'm gonna go get some right now.
Well, good. Okay. We got that letter covered.
Covered.
Excellent. And since we're talking about large format photography, it would be a perfect segue for you to talk about large format tips.
A lot of people are buying lenses. They buy a camera. The first thing they do is buy like all the lenses.
Yeah, like me. 4x5 or 8x10.
Or any, well, yeah, 4 or 5s typically you can go lens crazy because they're a little cheaper, a little more widely available. But not all lenses are created equal. You know, a lot of different the advantage and disadvantage at the same time to large format were that there was a wide gamut of lenses. Most of them are all very, very, very high quality, but they're not. There's a larger time range in which they were made. You know, so it's not like every Canon is your lenses are going to be 50s and better. Large format 4x5, your lenses could be as old as the 1850s.
Oh my goodness.
Through something that's just made by Schneider last week.
Schneider.
And not all are created equal. We have uncoated lenses, which are like these old pieces of brass with these just big old pieces of glass in there, and they have a soft, mushy, people like the bokeh kind of look.
Mushy.
Yeah, just mushy, kind of low contrast look to them. And then we have single coated lenses. Those started in, I think, the 19 teens and went up through the 50s and 60s. And those are slightly better for your black and white films. And then you get to your multi-coating lenses, and you have these lenses today that have 3, 4, 5 coatings on them.
BBAR.
There you go. Leslie is the one to talk to about all the different coatings. But they
anti-reflective coating.
Yeah, they affect the way that that light's coming through there, and it affects things like how colors look. So if you shoot a color film with these lenses, how they look, and that's going to affect your price. Funny enough, uncoated lenses have the widest range because your 4x5 uncoated lenses come almost free. You know, your tiny little guys in the little Alphax shutters, and yeah, they go for almost nothing. Your 203 or 207 millimeter lenses, your 135s, those go for pretty cheap. But then you have these giant big brass lenses that are going for thousands of dollars because people are using them for wet plate, very fast lenses.
How do you choose a lens without going mad? Because there's so much choice, and you can get the film sweats.
Here's my jaded Matt opinion on on large format lenses. Buy modern lenses.
Okay.
Modern lenses have never been cheaper.
Yeah.
Like never.
You don't need an antique 1888 lens, do you?
I mean, if you want that look, but most of the time it's like you want that because you want to make somebody else's image, and you can make a lot of great images. Just get the modern lens. You won't have to worry about flare, the color of it. I mean, and they're super cheap. Lenses that sold for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 not even 10 years ago are selling for $200 or $300 now. So, and all the antique lenses have gone way up just because they look antique, not necessarily because they work well. They're modern. If they're in a modern shutter, it's probably not going to have as many problems. Older lenses.
Where would you buy such a thing? Do you go on Craigslist and meet some guy in the Kmart parking lot?
I hate buying lenses like that. There's one place I trust.
Or do you go to like a flea market? You ever see the guys? They have like a blanket down and they have like car parts piled up, and you'll see like a lens in there.
No, I've bought a lens like that before.
Like if like you bought a camera and you don't have a lens, or you want to buy an additional lens for your 4x5, 8x10 camera, like where's the go-to place?
Oh, come on, you know.
KEH.
Oh, I was gonna say KEH, but I didn't know if they stocked.
They do. It's like a secret almost.
Yeah.
They stock a whole host of 4x5 lenses. Now
They really are the bomb.
They are, and they check everything. They tell you everything that's wrong with that lens.
Anyone that I've run across or seen emails or posts online, everyone is very satisfied with their KEH experience.
Alex Laux came to me for some 4x5 questions. He bought his 4x5 before he came to the FPP Midwest Walking Workshop and said, "Hey, I'm on KEH. Which ones are good?" I said, "They're on KEH. Which ones do you want?"
Right.
Because there's no thinking about it. They're going
to
be good.
It seems that they're not price gouging either.
No,
it's a very fair
they're
price.
Fair. I feel like if you're like one of those people that researches on eBay of what fair market value is, they're like 60% of what the average auction is on eBay. They're right there with the prices. And if you're lucky, if the price is going up, the first place you check when you see eBay prices going up, check KEH, because they take the brick and mortar shops take time to catch up, and you're going to get a good deal. Like Hasselblads, those things. When I bought mine, were cheap. Now they're up. Before they went up, KEH was the place to go. The market's kind of crazy. Like it's the whole enthusiasm. There's so many more people into it, so the cost is going up because we are dealing with a finite supply.
Yeah.
I think everybody's seeking these old, vintage-looking items, whether or not they're good, and these perfectly good modern lenses that are younger than the 4x5 or 8x10 you're putting it on. They're great.
Yeah,
I love them. I mean, I tricked out my CNR with these beautiful new lenses. And
your former CNR.
Oh, come on! It was in your shop one day.
I sold it.
CNR is your 8x10.
The monorail, the big
monorail
guy.
camera,
Yeah.
which it's a field camera. You take it outside.
I treat it like a field camera. It is ace. It's supposed to never leave the studio.
Here's a good question from someone who would like to shoot 8x10 photography.
No, you
me.
don't.
What is the most portable, easiest to just fold up and go shoot with 8x10 camera?
Probably a Wista or a Takahara.
Oh, is that right?
They make a very. It's identical to yours. To your
It's just 8x10.
It's just bigger. Yeah.
No kidding.
And you're wasting more money on film. So
it just
stick with the 4x5.
It just folds up.
Yeah. My advice to anyone comes right out of Happy Gilmore. Like, just stay here. Stay as long as you can.
Right.
Don't ever go. Like, if I had learned 4x5, I never would have gone up.
Matt, are you afraid that people are going to start shooting 8x10 and make it like a household?
Oh, no, if it's household, it brings film prices down, so I'm okay with that. No, I just, I want to save people the headache, because, some people get it, and they're like, what do you mean I should only be I can only shoot, 2 or 3 reasonably in a shoot, or I can shoot...
Oh, because of the price.
The price, it's and that's why we're pushing, I think we pushed the X-ray film a little bit, because it's cheap.
Well, maybe in, less than a year, me and Mark Dalzell and Dane could be, we're coating our own emulsion in their Smooth Tech lab.
You can go take a workshop at the George Eastman House. They have 3 workshops this
year. Make your own film?
How to make your own orthochromatic emulsion.
Wow.
Someone
they're already sold out.
Once, and they said, what are you going to do when they don't make film? And I said, I'll have Matt Marash coat me some.
Right.
So, that's not a problem.
Wow.
I ate shrimp off a truck once.
That got out of hand quickly.
It did. So I should curb my gas gear acquisition syndrome, because it is. I have to tell you, I'm not a huge collector, but I have a lot of stuff, and you always want to buy stuff. And
just
I'm shooting 4x5, and I think you will admit that within between now and a year ago, I'm actually out there shooting.
Yes,
which is a big difference. And remember, we used to come to the studio.
You're so scared.
It'd be like a heap. There'd be
There's cobwebs on it.
The Mamiya 645 was in a heap for over a year. The Crown Graphic was just in the box for well over a year.
Yes.
Until we fumbled through that video, which, by the way, is our top-rated video.
Oh my gosh, it's over 50,000.
Yeah, because people don't know there's a button on the side. People are like, how do I open this?
Oh yes, I know.
It's true. It really is.
Yeah, I know.
But I think it is very important, because I had said to Matt before, and this applies to all the folks listening too, I'm like, oh, Matt, I think I want 8x10. You're like, oh, Mike, you're not even shooting 4x5. Get out there and shoot and then talk to me.
Just shoot, yeah.
I don't want to talk to you. He's like, you go out there and shoot and then we'll talk.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't a cocky thing. It's just you have to shoot it enough to find out if that's the way you like to do it. And
yeah.
I'm to the point, maybe I just feel like a jaded old man at this point, but it's I like shooting
because I want you to get an 8x10.
I'm sure it'll happen. Well, people listening, if you're just getting into large format photography, I can tell you that at first it was very difficult. I was very you're resistant to it. You feel awkward doing it.
Very much so.
There's those steps involved with setting up the lens, focusing, and I'm happy to report that I'm over the hump now. And now it feels very natural. It feels very easy. Like that Mark Dalzell. Ding! Every time I say Mark, there's a little counter here.
Ding!
The Mark Dalzell portrait.
Great portrait.
It was after we finished taping, I'm like, Mark, let me get your portrait. Dane as well. And it was so... It was over by the window, bounce car, you hold this.
You're not even thinking about it. You're just doing it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Just doing it. Load the film. Done.
Love it.
And it felt... very natural.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting, whether you're shooting large format or even medium format, and you feel stunted, if you feel oh my God, I can't do this. If you feel like you can't get over the task of the technical, you will.
You just have to keep doing it.
You have to give it a chance.
Yeah.
Same thing with now I'm in the dark room. Granted, I'm not printing yet, but I'm in there just zipping around, cutting film, doing this, doing that. I mentioned to Leslie I want to get a grinder, which is a word that doesn't exist, for a machine that you'll put your film in one end and you grind it with a big grinder and it will perforate your film.
Exactly. All the little holes will just fly right out the side.
I bet you could get a scrapbooking tool. You know how they use those rollers that make the little dots? I bet you could do something they'd be really crappy looking sprockets, but you could...
Every roll would grind in your camera.
It'd be great for the OMG because it doesn't use them anyway.
Is there such a thing? What makes perfs? For 35 millimeter, big stamper?
Yeah, it's a big stamper. So it just goes through.
Yeah, it doesn't exist, huh? No DIY, make your own perfs?
I bet you should look at scrapbooking tools because it looks like a pizza roller, and it's got the little, and you can just stamp it right in.
That'd be the first step. You'd start cranking them out by hand, and then all the orders would come in. You think, I got to get better here, and then you get the big old electric version.
And you know that X-ray film's really hardy. Have you ever tried to tear that stuff?
You can't tear it.
Oh,
it's
exactly. Cardboard.
No, it's hard.
It's very thick.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, since we're talking about X-ray film, before we go, this show, what show? When I'm cutting it, Now, I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking. The portraits that I developed, as you noticed, had a lot of smudging on the outside, which actually gave it a very nice look. But I'm thinking that's because it was in the developer and everything was soft. Yeah. When I'm handling it, cutting it,
you can still scratch it then.
Scratch it, but can you smudge it? Or not really?
Yes, human oil.
Oh, I have gloves. I have latex gloves on. Powderless, of course.
Of course.
I know you can scratch it like loading it and stuff. Like I'm very careful loading the holders and stuff. But I've never actually wiped away emulsion. So I'm guessing it's during development. Now another way you can tame the way they develop too is giving it a nice pre-bath. X-ray film likes to pre-wash it.
Don't you pre-wet everything you do?
I pre-wet everything I do, but especially
How will that
X-ray
tame
film.
it in processing? You're saying
because the emulsion is already like soaked up with a bunch of water, and as you put it into the developer, it just kind of diffuses out more evenly and not just soaks up the first thing that touched, because a couple seconds can make a big difference with a 5-minute developing time.
I just throw everything in the developer like
just pre-wet.
Yeah, but I always wash it like X-ray film's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You pour that pre-wet out and it's purple or it's green.
Yeah.
Well, the pre-wet on X-ray film looks like urine.
Does it? Jello?
I always forget to do it. Huh. I just dump it in. I use Caffeinol, so it's like murky.
Yeah.
You can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
the X-ray film makes my developer come out like blood orange. It's weird.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You don't think about that, but when you put a piece of film in the developer, especially if you don't pre-wash it, what is lifting off?
Well, it's not really lifting off. It's just
what you're saying
diffusing in.
Purple, urine yellow. Like, what is that color?
That color could be the anti-halation backing.
Yeah, but
some films,
there's no anti-halation on X-ray. It does have it's a very thin anti-scratch. It doesn't do much because people scratch it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It might be an incorporated developer.
Yeah.
To the film.
This has been a mind-blowing, awesome show. You're not going to believe this, but we have to go soon. Did we forget anything?
Well, can I give a shout out?
Yeah.
For the 35mm shooters out there, you'll be proud to hear I shot some 35 during the FPP Midwest Walking. Andrew Bartram,
yes,
from the UK, was kind enough to send me 3 rolls of 35mm Kodak Tacpan.
Oh.
So I shot a roll for him
Very nice.
at the meetup because it's my favorite 35mm.
Is that right?
Film. Yeah, the
what
only
are you
film.
Develop in?
Huh?
Oh, probably
Pyro.
Pyro.
But I dilute it in half.
Okay.
And that tames it.
What if I got you some TechPan developer?
If you got me some Technodol, I would be very, very pleased.
I'll check.
All right.
Might have some.
Wow, Matt shooting 35.
So there's I don't hate on anything.
I
didn't.
I didn't think you did. But what happens is when you start shooting medium format, sometimes for months or a year you can forget about a particular format.
Exactly.
You forget about oh my god, let me shoot some 110. Let me shoot a quirky format.
1, 2, 3, forget about it.
You find little pockets.
Got no pockets.
You find little pockets like, oh my god, I think today I'm going to, shoot some 35. We're not going to talk about this show.
What show?
APS film. Ooh. I almost was going to call it, like those 35mm SLR APS cameras. Folks out there listening, you can get in contact with us, podcast at filmphotographyproject.com. That's how you can reach us. And feel free to, visit the site, podcast videos, our FPP store. Really do, take a swim in the store. Check it out, see what's going on there. This has been an awesome show because we're talking about a lot of things that, I'm just touching upon, and it's really exciting to kind of do something new, with the format, with whatever format you're shooting. Sheet film and throwing in some coffee to develop it, jumping into medium format for the first time. I mean, it's all super exciting, and we want to hear from you. Please do, write us. Hey, until next time, smooth out.